Hello all, and welcome back to our baseball conversations for devotional this month. Today I want to talk about the 2006 St. Louis Cardinals. They are a team that did win the World Series, but they really didn't have any business winning the World Series. As the playoffs started and as their season ended, they were only 500 games over 500, but they got hot at just the right time. The Cardinals lost 10 of their last 14 games to close out the regular season and only beat out Houston for that last playoff spot by a game and a half. Albert Pujols, with a 331 batting average, was the only player who hit over a 300, while he and Scott Rowland were the only players who hit more than 20 home runs. So they only really had one good player on the whole team. Pitching-wise, all but one starter, Chris Carpenter, had an ERA, an earned run average, so that's how many runs they would average per game, of over 4. However, once it got to the playoffs, the Cardinals were all business, winning 3 of their first 4 over the Padres in the divisional round, the first round of the playoffs, before winning the NLCS over the Mets in 7 games. A 5-game masterpiece over the Tigers in the World Series sealed the deal for the Cardinals. The team, they looked really unfocused and like they didn't belong as they were entering into the playoffs. This reminds me of a passage from Judges about Samson, who he lived this life where he didn't live up to the expectations that anybody had for him. And yet God found a way at the very end of his life to continue using him. At this point in his life, he's been captured. He has proven to be a failure. He has been made blind by his captors. And here is what we hear in the book of Judges, chapter 16, verses 23 through 30. Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and to celebrate, saying, "Our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands." When people saw him, they praised their God, saying, "Our God has delivered our enemy into our hands, the one who laid waste to our land and multiplied our slain." While they were in high spirits, they shouted, "Bring out Samson to entertain us." So they called Samson out of the prison, and he performed for them. When they stood him among the pillars, Samson said to the servant who held his hand, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple, so that I may lean against them." Now, the temple was crowded with men and women. All the rulers of the Philistines were there. And on the roof were about 3,000 men and women watching Samson perform. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Then Samson reached toward the 2 central pillars on which the temple stood. Bracing himself against them, his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other, Samson said, "Let me die with the Philistines." Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple on the rulers and all the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. Samson was brought into the world to be a savior for the people of Israel as a judge. And almost his entire lifetime, he did some of that, but he really failed. He never lived up to who he was supposed to be. And yet, in the end, we see that God gives us the ability to turn it around even at the very end. This is good news. Good talking about baseball with you today. See you.